Beer-fueled fantasy football. It's time for running backs this week. We are here at National Fantasy Football Convention, or in a hotel about a mile away from it.
There you go.
We've had a crazy weekend here at the convention. It's been a great time. Got to meet with a lot of players and other fantasy analysts, so it's been a good time. We did get one of them to jump on with us for this episode. Everyone say hi to Dynasty Guru FF on Twitter.
Miguel. Analyst, not a player.
What's going on, guys? Thanks for having me on again.
He's actually a great player.
Yes, fantastic.
I've seen him run his 40 time. Amazing.
He's the kicker for the Chargers.
Yep.
Or the Bucks, Bills. Where do you
Either way, it's better than what they have. So
yes.
okay.
Of course.
So if any team needs a kicker, give him a call. It's probably going to improve your situation.
We know some famous people. We've got the backup quarterback for the Kansas City Chiefs.
I
the
can also
kicker
pretend to
for
be
the
Blake
Chargers.
Jarwin, and people would believe that. So
Nobody knows what he looks like.
no one knows who he looks like.
Yes.
It's a mystery.
I have no idea what he looks like. I cannot help in that situation.
He could have walked into
I
NFFC.
proved that point a few weeks ago. That
Nobody would have had any idea.
All right. So as always, we are at Beer Fueled Fantasy Football. Beer Fueled FF on Twitter. Individually, Nick Sparts, Christopher Hopper, rocking the old school shirt and hat.
At Hot BFF with 2 Ps. How y'all doing? I thought we were at a hotel room in NFFC, not at Beerfield FF.
I mean, our headquarters are mobile. Well, wherever we are.
Move on.
And sharing an ottoman with him is Dan Thury.
Home is where you make it.
You
After
like-
ABFF,
you like to
2
see
Fs.
homeless naked.
No, home is where the heart is. And
Home is
now
with our.
that's here.
I don't ever get phrases right.
Homeless where you make it.
We still need to
That's
start
not
that
what
Thuryism account where you just whatever random shit comes
We
out
had
of your mouth.
who was doing that? I think it was either Sean or somebody was doing that.
A shit
out
Thury
there.
says.
Like yeah, which is a lot of shit.
Or was it?
It's like diarrhea.
Was it Sean or Taylor? It was one of them. Whoever's doing
somebody.
that, you should keep doing that.
Yeah, you should.
Dan, make more Thuryisms.
All right. So today we are
Well, I
gonna,
will.
we're going to go through our top 8 tiers of running backs, and it's going to end up being our top 23 players here. Couldn't quite make it an even 24, but it tiered out that way, and we're not going to mess with the tiers.
Never mess with the tears.
But before we do that, we have a beer preview and some news for you guys.
Are you saying there was no more tiers?
There was no more tiers. Actually, before we do that, though, go ahead and talk about the listener league.
Hey, I forgot to do that on Wednesday's episode, which we totally recorded after this.
It's why I'm more lively.
Yes, we do have a listener redraft league going on. We've got some prizes to give away, included some charitable donations, shirts, hats, signed Tyreek Hill jersey to the champion. A couple different ways you can qualify that. You need to DM at HotBFF with 2 Ps. I opened them up now because I realized that they were closed.
Yep,
So-
only took you a week and a half to figure that one
right,
out.
so you should be able to DM me. But at HotBFF with 2 Ps, one of 3 things: a review on our iTunes, a subscription to our YouTube, or a donation in any amount to Fantasy Cares, and you can go to fantasycares.net to do that. Each one will get you 1 entry into the drawing. You can buy merch for 3 also. DM the show at Beerfield FF to do that. And then we will draw sometime into July, early August, depending on 30 schedule and when we can make it work. And get that set up and going. It is a 2QB Superflex League. So, yeah, 12 team. There you go.
We managed to convince him not to do punters, so you're welcome.
Yeah, we're
I'm
holding
a
off
little
on the-
pissed off about that, but I'm okay. Like,
Holding off on the
leg
punter league for another year.
We'll do leg league next year, maybe.
Yep. And we do have a studio audience again.
Yep, we do have fantasy headliner Jake, who you'll see in Wednesday's episode if you're watching on YouTube, or here if you're listening to the audio version.
Say hi, Jake.
Hi guys, how you doing?
And then off in the corner, we have Blake Sullivan working on some fantasy baseball stuff. Blake Sullivan FF, and he also runs FGSN, Fantasy Gaming Sports Network.
Yeah, be sure to check those guys.
Say hi, Blake.
Watching the best podcast right now. What's up, guys?
Love you.
Love you. Be sure to go check out his stuff. It's a pretty cool concept. He games and talks fantasy sports. So if you're into watching like Fortnite and that type of thing, it's right there for you.
And I believe you've been on it. Miguel's been on it, correct?
I've been on it, yeah.
Yep.
So you can check out Blake and Miguel together on an episode of that if you'd like to
Well,
check
no,
that
I
out.
want to do it.
Well, then do it. You have
I'm
a computer.
going to. I know.
Twitch, right, Blake?
Yep, absolutely.
Perfect.
All right. Now let's hit a beer preview.
I always forget it's touchscreen, and then I remember at the most convenient times, like when I'm like, oh crap, where's my mouse?
We're so professional here. We got Haze Wizard by 3 Nations Brewing Company out of Farmers Branch, Texas. First time they've been on the show since we're down here in the Fort Worth area. I've been trying to grab some local beer for these episodes. It is a New England style IPA, which we've had a lot of those on recently, but we're big fans of the style, and it clocks in at 7.5%. So this should be a pretty fun episode.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, few news items.
News.
All right. And well, before we have too much fun over there, we do first have to
I
go
love the
through
dance
some.
moves, guys. That's great. That's what happens every time for every episode.
A lot
Yeah,
of
A
the
lot
times.
of them, yes.
I dance a lot.
For all of us, we just get to listen to the music, but
No,
to see
go-
the moves.
Watch it on YouTube.
There we go.
YouTube's there.
And then before we go into this, we do have some legal concerns.
Wait. Yes. Our special NFL legal segment.
So some accusations came out this week against LaShawn McCoy from his ex-girlfriend. It started off with an Instagram post.
His
that
ex-girlfriend's friend.
I kind of
It was
need the
her
Jerry
best friend.
Springer stuff for this because
Her
this
friend.
is wild.
Yeah, this
It's
is
weird.
a roller coaster, and I'm sure I'm missing details
It's
on this.
fine.
I've
We're
been-
all missing details.
I've been keeping track of it as best I can because obviously fantasy drafts are coming up shortly. So the ex-girlfriend's best friend posted a picture of the ex-girlfriend in really bad shape. Basically accused LaShawn McCoy of domestic abuse, child abuse, animal abuse, using performance-enhancing drugs, a bunch of other things. It came out very shortly after that LaShawn McCoy was not even in the same state at the time. He was training down in the Florida area, so he was not immediately involved. It came out next that it was somebody broke into the house to rob them, and that's when the ex-girlfriend got hit in the face and got all the sustained damage that she had. Now, the accusation, I think, is turned to from them that they think McCoy may have hired the people who broke into the house because there's a very specific piece of jewelry being asked for, but we don't know quite what's going to come of this. This is a very developing situation. We'll get more into what it means for McCoy's actual draft stock when we get to him as his projection, but there is going to be some inherent risk in him that we want you guys to be aware of.
Yep.
Because Goodell, even if McCoy is not involved in this and he gets cleared, Goodell could still be like, this looks bad for the league and you get suspended. So
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
even if he gets cleared from this illegally, it may not be the end of an NFL standpoint. All right, that's enough about that. On to the other news here. DeMarco Murray announced his retirement after 7 seasons. So for those of you holding him in dynasty leagues, hoping he would sign somewhere,
In the arms of the angel.
it's time to bury him.
He's gone.
There have been a few rumors about like the Jaguars trying to bring him in, but he's not interested in a backup role.
Yeah.
It was a hot spot for the Bills, too. for
It,
that
it was,
week.
if anything, came from McCoy. So, but yeah, he's in retirement. Couple good seasons. Really was successful in Tennessee. Not so much in Philly, but then with Dallas also.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he had a great career, a lot of touches,
Yeah.
and I think it just wore on him. He wasn't looking like the same guy towards the end of his career.
Nope.
And then Darren Sproles announced that this will be the end of his career after the 2018 season, so he's got 1 year left, assuming he doesn't tear an ACL and break his arm on the same play again.
Yeah, we all kind of knew that was coming. We talk about him on Wednesday's episode, I think. No, we don't.
No.
We didn't get to
We don't
Sproles.
get that far. Okay. Well, he'll have kind of a Darren Sproles light role in Philly because of, J.J. is an adequate pass catcher. Corey Clement is there, also a decent pass catcher. So it'll be the Sproles role, but reduced. So temper expectations for what you may get from him.
So, and with the announcement that came today, he specifically called out that he wants to move past Steve Smith and I think it was Edgerrin James on the all-purpose yards list.
Yep.
All right, that's all we've got for news. Let's go ahead and get into running backs.
Old drop incoming.
Running backs.
Run, Forrest, run! Run, Forrest!
All right, so same as we've done with quarterbacks here, we are going to go tier by tier for all of these. So started off with tier 1. Just quick going through this list is going to be number 1 Le'Veon Bell, number 2 Todd Gurley, 3 David Johnson, and 4 Ezekiel Elliott. This is pretty much the common tier you're going to see across this. We have them all ranked very close.
That is my exact rankings for those 4, too.
So, and I mean, Bell and Gurley actually tied.
Yeah.
And Zeke and Johnson tied, and they were all within 1/3 of a point of each other. So these are all just clumped into one group. So let's start off with Le'Veon Bell first. He was one of the highest touch leaders in the NFL last season on a per game basis, and I think he was the touch leader for the entire season.
He was.
What do we think about him after a really heavy workload, looking what's likely to be the last season in Pittsburgh? Though there may be news dropping today when this episode airs that if he did get a contract extension, the deadline is, I believe, 3:00 on Monday.
Yeah. I do expect him to see similar touches. I mean, you have to lose Todd Haley, but you bring in a guy who's been behind him, learning about what they want to do. Bell has seen number 1 an opportunity share the last 2 seasons, if not longer, and the offense seems to flow through both him and Brown.
Yeah, Bell is my number 2 and could easily be my number 3, just depending on the day that it is. Run efficiency was worse last year than it's kind of ever been. Yards per reception was down year over year. Not a ton of breakaway runs, but he does still have volume, does still have a ton of volume, is still active in both the receiving and the rushing facet. So, look, he's Le'Veon Bell, and he's going to be a top 4 fantasy back. So, I mean, you draft him. As far as where do you draft him at, it just depends on how you feel about him. Personally, for me, it would be the 102 as of this recording.
Yeah, I mean, I have some concerns, and you just kind of hit on a little bit of it. It's his lowest yards per attempt since his rookie year at 4.0, and his lowest yards per reception at 7.7 since 2015, where he was 5.7. So that was a bit of an anomaly there. But I think he only played 6 games that year, so that probably plays into it. So we could be seeing the beginning of the wheels falling off the bus. Like we said, it's a lot of touches in 1 year, and to come back into it and to see that volume again, and is he going to hold up? He's had a lot of injuries in his career. I don't know if I could put him at 1. I think the next 3 guys, we could all make arguments for number 1.
Oh, easily.
And so I think I would put Le'Veon behind all of them. Personally, I would have him probably at 4, and then honestly, we could really debate it late into the night on the rest of the 3 of the order.
I probably wouldn't, though, and that's just because any order you take these guys, and Dan and I were talking about this earlier, I'm not going to take exception with. This is not something that if I say Bell's my 3 and or my 2, and somebody else comes at me and says, well, he should really be your 4. I'm okay, cool.
Yeah.
This is more just like pick your preference, like what, because they all have a lot of things that are in their box for why they're going to be really good, and they all each have slight warts to each of them, and it's going to be pick your poison.
I like some of the upside on some of the other guys that come with a little less mileage and a little less concern from a contract standpoint, a health standpoint, and
yeah, because if they don't get a deal done, I think they're going to run the wheels off them, and that could be a potential.
I gotta
concern
ask
for his
one
long-term
question
health.
though. All right, Miguel, do you have them ranked? So you said you have him ranked below those 3. Is there anybody else outside of those 3 that you have ranked higher than him?
No, I was just looking at the list. I don't think I would take him any further. I mean,
Okay.
Yeah.
If we really want to hype up Saquon, then maybe.
I mean, we will later.
And yes, and
I could jump aboard that train, but no, I'd probably put him at 4.
Okay.
Yeah, and the reason that I won't debate any of these guys is because I think the difference between them is going to be like a touchdown, and touchdowns are fluky. So.
Yeah, his touchdown rate has been kind of historically a little lower too. They do pass a lot.
You guys
in the
are
red zone.
what, about like 8 points for all 4 of them in your projections?
Yeah.
You and Hopper?
No, my gap's bigger, but that's because David Johnson broke my projections. Between Zeke, Bell, and Gurley, though, it's a 20-point gap between the 3 of them. So in over a 16-game season, that's not that big of a deal.
Yeah, and for me, it is. Hold on, I gotta get over there. It's 13 points between the 4 of them.
That's fair.
David Johnson's actually projected highest, but I take the other things into account too, like risk.
All right, moving on.
All right. Number 2, we do have Todd Gurley. He is actually my 4, but I want to hear what you guys, because I know, Hopper, you have him as your 1, right?
Yeah, Todd Gurley did come in as my 1, and I can see the touchdown regression, but, Le'Veon Bell has injury concerns. You kind of have a little bit of that, plus the offensive concerns with David Johnson, and then I've got some game script concerns with Zeke potentially, so I don't see the Rams kind of being in a bad negative game script situation. Todd Gurley is versed as both a rusher and a passer. He's the only running back in the last 20 years behind Marshall Faulk to pull 80 targets at a 12.3 yards per reception clip. That's incredibly good. Because he's the only back since Marshall Faulk, I do see that stepping back some. I wanted to project fewer carries, and I really couldn't, though, because I think the Rams are going to be up in a lot of games. But, they could also be fighting for the division by week 17, but they're going to be in games. I don't see them getting blown out a lot. I do see some situations where, because that defense is good, because that offense is efficient, that they're actually up. So I see him actually in a lot of positive game scripts for him, and then just trying to grind out the clock. He was top 2 in goal line and red zone touches. They added Cooks, but that's not really a red zone threat. I think most of that work is still Gurley's. It's not Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods, or none of those guys are going to body guys out. Yeah, Gerald Everett, Tyler Higbee, you could see some increases there. But
that was going to be my point, so thanks for stealing that from me.
you're welcome. So it's just kind of a game script and a role and an offense type of thing for Gurley that was the difference maker, and the fact that he's been reliably healthy.
I mean, this whole offense runs through Gurley. Nothing's changed outside of them losing the floor going to Tennessee, correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
These are OC.
Most of the plays were called by Sean McVay.
Right.
Nothing's changed. Defense has gotten better. Goff's more comfortable, which means you may see some more throws from him, open up the offense more. But the defense got better, which means a positive game script that Hopper just hit on. They had the same tight ends last year. They didn't use them. I can see, an increased role for Everett. But when you're on the goal line, are you going to choose Gerald Everett over Todd Gurley?
I mean,
no.
But
he was a highly touted rookie tight end last
we
year.
love him. I get that.
He
I'm
could
just
develop.
saying, maybe once or twice.
I just a lot of Gurley's touchdowns last year were based on either broken plays or just stuff kind of going perfect for him. I do expect some of that to regress.
They
Which
also
is why
have
he pulled down.
Well,
from
that's
They also
what I
have a
said.
really
I
good
think he
backup now.
regresses too.
I think even if he
So-
does regress in the touchdown department, we're talking what? Like 2 touchdowns, maybe. Like I
Yeah.
don't think it's going to be significant. It's not going to be like 5 or
Well,
something.
Unless he
I
gets
think
hurt,
I think
yeah.
his efficiency regresses some though too because of the Marshall Falk note that I
mean,
put
he
out
had,
there.
he had
He's
13
still my
rushing
one,
touchdowns
but-
last year, and his rookie year he had 10.
Yeah.
And in between he had 6, and that was a really, really bad year for the Rams.
Fuck you, Jeff
So-
Fisher.
Yeah, I've got him projected for 14 total touchdowns, but that is still a drop from last year. And I do expect the passing down work to drop with them adding Kelly and Cooks. So I do think some of the targets go away from him.
I think they do.
But either
too.
way,
I
he's
project
still-
Nothing,
amazing.
to your point, nothing changes. He's going to be the same guy in the same offense. I mean, they just lost Watkins, but they replaced it with Cooks, and McVay's still calling the shots. I mean, it's all systems go for the Rams. So
Yeah.
Gurley and David Johnson for me are 1A, 1B. Just pick your poison.
Yeah, I did. He actually projected slightly behind David Johnson for me points wise, but again, there's the health security and the game script thing that I like more for him. But I did fade his targets a bit, and I faded his touchdowns a bit, or by 1 anyway.
Yeah, those were the concerns I had. I've expected those two things to regress slightly for him.
Yeah.
But overall, yeah, I mean, as we've talked about, anybody in these top 4, if you have a top 4 pick, if you're number 1, you get to pick whichever one you want. If you're pick 4, just take whoever falls to you. And
You want
be
the
fine.
pick
I
4
would
this
rather be
year.
pick 4.
You want pick 4 this
Then
year.
I don't have to think about it.
Yeah.
Unless somebody goes weird and
The
drafts
decision
Kamara
gets
too.
made for you.
And, and then I'm closer.
I mean, if
and
that
then I'm
happens,
closer
then
to,
you're fine.
And then I'm closer to the middle in the second round, so I'm going to get a second guy.
Yep.
Yeah.
David Johnson as 3rd.
So
Ditto for Todd Gurley.
yeah, I'll go.
Rinse and repeat.
I'll go ahead and go with this one. So I keep saying that David Johnson is projected as kind of my my best guy here, or for the most points, and he is. I think that it was a broken wrist that has since healed up, so you shouldn't see any lasting effects from that, really. And I just closed out the notes that I needed.
You just closed your notes.
I did. I closed the notes I was
All right.
trying to get
well,
to.
Dan, take over.
Go
Then while he's
ahead.
figuring it out.
Yeah, I mean, he led the league in touches in 2016. The wrist injury was like he could have came back if they were making a playoff run, which they were, but they decided not to, which was smart. And he's like, there's already been hype videos of him doing all these, crazy ass workouts. He's fine. And they're going to just keep using him more because you have to bring in Sam Bradford, can't stay healthy. Josh Jones is a rookie, and Fitz, yes, will command his targets, but he commanded targets, in 2016. David Johnson is one of the best running backs in this league. Behind, and an improving offensive line. Seattle got worse on defense. Rams will obviously be the Rams. And then the Niners are improving, but the Cardinals still proved last year, like even without David Johnson, that the team's almost there. And David will take that to that next step and be completely fine.
Yep, he's the running back I have the most targets projected to this year. I think he's going to be the number 2 target hog in that entire offense. I think he's going to be fantastic this season, and I don't have any concerns about that wrist.
How many targets did you have him statted
Yeah.
for?
114.
I got him at 112, so I'm right there with you.
I don't have an injury concern for DJ. I mean, for me, injury concerns come down to like concussions, repeated injuries for the same,
Strains.
Soft tissue
strains.
stuff.
Soft tissues
Soft
and
tissues.
strains
That's it.
scare me more.
Broken bones are random chance, and it happens. So,
yeah,
Yeah.
they surgically repaired it. It healed. He's
yeah,
fine.
he's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
he's-
like nothing happened.
Yep, and I just expect him to return to what he was.
The only the con for him is, do you trust that offense? Do you trust his new head coach? and
Yeah,
all
can
that?
it stay on game script? Will they stay in games?
And that's why he moved back to 4 for me, and it's game script and can they stay in games. I think if they do, that he could very
The
easily
thing
be
is,
the running back
even,
1.
Even if they can't, they're still going to throw to him. He's the second best receiver on that team outside of Larry Fitzgerald.
Yep, and that's
Yeah.
why he's projected for 112 targets.
So, so even if they aren't in games, he's still going to get the more valuable scoring, which is the receiving game.
Well, and this is half PPR. I'm assuming he would bump slightly up for you in full PPR, Hopper, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. He bumps up ahead of at least Zeke for me in full PPR, and
He may be
Gurley.
that 101, 102. Like
It'd
you'll
be-
compete with Bell because those two will be your highest
It'd be
targeted
him and
running
Bell.
backs.
Yep.
Like it's just what it is.
All right, and then Zeke, the last one we got to talk about here. Do we share the story or no?
No,
All right.
no, it's fine.
So
So
him being an asshole has really nothing to do with.
I think it's pretty much
All
well
right, it's an
documented.
anecdote from the weekend. That's why I brought it up. But check out some of our Twitter stuff. You've probably seen it pop through this weekend.
Maybe.
But moving on to Zeke as a projection, he is actually my carry leader in projections. So in standard leagues, I'd definitely be raising him.
Yeah, he's easily my carry leader. Standard leads, absolutely. He's gonna get his touchdowns. I don't really. He may actually be more involved in the passing game than what he has been, and I've actually projected him to do that just because of one, well, game scripts, but two, they're gonna have to leverage their best player.
Yeah, I mean, like there's been news that they want to use Haven Austin out in the backfield and have Zeke, line out and run out of the slot. That was per Road on the World, Matt Kelly's podcast with this guy on from Dallas. It's just that they want to build through Zeke. They drafted the guy out of Texas, Connor Williams, in the second round because of this. Like if they wanted to do pass more, they would have invested in the passing game, in the first round. This is Zeke's team, Zeke's offense. And as long as he can stay healthy and hopefully get those targets, he could be easily, lead the league in fantasy points this year.
3.8 targets a game last year to their running backs. 24.2 attempts per game last year, which would have put Zeke on pace for 384 carries, which is nuts. That's actually only happened 7 times in the last 20 years. So I think that regresses some, but you figure increased passing work plus the volume he's going to see out of the backfield as what that offense is built around.
Yeah, there's just so many targets available that some of them are going to have to go to Zeke. Even not giving him the same pace he was at last year, I still got him projected out for 365 carries.
I mean, he didn't get those carries. So it's like he's even more fresh than what he was on an offense that has led the league, I think, in rushing attempts the last 2 seasons.
Yeah, I think you're going to see something very similar to his rookie year. I mean, he's just going to get fed the ball a lot rushing wise.
Would you have him at it?
I'm not sure what his receiving will be, but it'll probably come up a little bit. But I still think it won't be.
That's why I have him as my 104. He's a good pass catcher. I think his career catchable rate is like 75%. They just don't use him in that type of way. Outside of guys like David Johnson and Bell, who we project to see over 100 targets, we can't project that with Zeke because it hasn't happened yet.
What do you have him at, Nick?
For what?
Rushes and targets?
Rushes, I had him at 365 and I had him at 67 targets.
I had him at 344 and 66.
So I have about one more carry a game than you do.
Yep.
So yeah, he's going to see the most work in the NFL, I think, this year, though, of any running back. So in standard leagues, he definitely gets a bump up. In PPR, he's not going to get as many as Gurley, Johnson, or Bell, though. So that's probably why you'd want to tie break away from him in full point. And half point, he's my number 2.
Yeah,
that's fair.
Yep.
All right. That is it for tier 1. Let's go ahead and jump into tier 2 here. It's a 4-guy tier. Saquon Barkley, the rookie, coming in at number 5 to lead this tier.
Doing things right.
Alvin Kamara coming in at 6. Leonard Fournette 7. And Dalvin Cook 8. So I actually want to kind of switch the order up here. Let's start off with Leonard Fournette coming in at 7. We are a bit higher on him than a lot of the other people in the industry. Usually I see Cook, Gordon going in front of him, and even Kareem Hunt. Why do we like Fournette so much?
He's my highest out of these guys. He's my 5.
He's your 5.
I've always stated that I think Fournette will push or at least be on pace with Zeke to lead the league in rushing attempts and yards. A lot like Dallas, Jacksonville's built to go through Fournette. They bring in Andrew Noel from Carolina. He was an all-pro left guard, I believe, for them. Ranked, I think, number 4 PFF grade, one of the best run blocking grades out there as well. Great defense, which means you're going to get a positive game script, for most of the time. The first 6 weeks, he barely left the field during that time because he was healthy, he was used well. Yes, there is some injury concerns with the lingering ankle injury that may want them to produce, may want them to hold back from him, but this offense is built through him now. It's going to be his.
Go ahead, Miguel.
Yeah, Leonard Fournette's a little high for me. I guess I'm more worried. I mean, literally, Fournette and Cook are two guys whose injury concerns really concern me the most. And the fact is, we just really haven't seen. I mean, Cook got hurt really early, so that's no fault of his, right? I mean, ACL tears can happen whenever. But we just don't know enough about him and Fournette's ankle. I just feel like he might miss some games. So tier 2 for me, it's a bit rich. I think I'd rather have the next two guys that are in tier 3. I think I'd swap them. So it's just kind of where I'm at with that.
So there's a lot to like about Fournette. The reason I had to fade him some was because of what you just mentioned. He's dealt with ankle injuries in the NFL and in college, and seemed to have problems coming back from them. And even if he plays, it affects him. Per injury last year, he was at 4.56 yards per carry. Post, he was down to 3.21, and this is in pretty equal sample size. He evaded 1.5 tackles per game less after he returned from the game he missed from his ankle injury than he did prior to the ankle injury happening. So there's definitely some effects for that. I do not at all see a reason that he'd be under the 20.6 carries per game he was getting last season. Volume's not an issue. He'll be at least somewhat involved in the receiving game. TJ Yeldon's still there, so we'll get some of that work also, as will Corey Grant. But as long as he can stay healthy, I think as a runner, he can be Zeke light, but he's got to stay healthy, because even if he's playing hurt, it definitely
I think it'll be
had
interesting
a profound impact
to see how the Jaguars offense actually operates this year, now that they have Austin Seferian Jenkins, who by all reports seems to be having really good rapport with Blake Bortles, so that could also take away from his potential targets in the passing game as well.
I think they would give Fournette it's kind of like the Todd Gurley argument that just happened. I think they give Fournette every chance to run through the goal line before they trust Bortles to run in the end zone. And I'm a Blake Bortles truther.
Yeah,
no, I have a feeling they're still trying to develop him and make him into something.
They kind of gave him a 3-year bridge contract, so it'll probably be you get one last chance to show it here, and if not, we'll move away from.
As long as he doesn't lose them games, he'll be fine there. But they're going to lean on Fournette. That's why they bring in Norwell. That's why they didn't do a lot with the wide receiver 1 spot. Also, to bring in DJ Chark, but
yeah, and Moncrief on a 1-year deal.
I don't care about them.
Yeah, it's the same thing to me as and at least I'm consistent in that feeling of you've got a stud running back that can bang between the tackles. Why risk turning it over in the end zone by throwing to a Gerald Everett or an ASJ?
All right, well, let's jump back to number 5 here, and let's talk about the rookie, Saquon Barkley. I think we, across the board, had him as our number 5 player.
Yeah.
He's my 6. But
yeah, that works for
me.
Yeah.
All right, so what do we like about him, and why are you so confident in a rookie being the number 5 overall running back?
Watch him play.
That was my thing. I was like, did you see him playing college?
Watch his game against Iowa, and then you'll see fucking why he should be.
Well, if anyone listens to the show, they know we love him on tape. Just go back and listen to our running back preview episode, part 1, where we gave him the highest. We gave him the highest grade we've ever given a player. So
yeah. So 16 guys since 1960 have averaged over 4.5 yards a carry and 250 plus carries as a rookie. Fred Taylor, Zeke Elliott, Barry Sanders, Steve Slayton somehow. And this year, Saquon Barkley is how that's going to work out. If you look at what the Giants did in the draft and in free agency, they completely set this up to center around Saquon. They drafted Will Hernandez, right?
Yes.
Is the left guard. They brought in Nate Solder, who's a very, very good run blocking tackle. Shout out NFFC. And they got brought up by somebody that he wasn't a good run blocking tackle, but he was 12th in PFF grade.
That was kind of awkward.
It
but
was.
I laughed a bit because I was like, kids run.
You mix the targets in there. There's been one rookie that's had 70 targets in a season. That was Doug Martin, and now Baquan Barkley.
Baquan
Barkley is where this is going.
You can make that work.
Hashtag Baquan Barkley.
He's got super high expectations, but they set him up to succeed with what they did with that offensive line. There's weapons there, so they can't all completely center on him, because you've got to deal with Odell, you've got to deal with Evan Ingram, you have to deal with Sterling Shepard, and even though Eli Manning's still the quarterback, I think volume's going to be aplenty, and they try to shift away from making Eli win them games, and even if they do, he's a very adequate pass catcher, and he works very well outside of the tackles.
What'd you have him projected at for carries and targets?
Let me pull it up real quick.
What are your thoughts, Nick, on him?
He's easily my 5. There's a massive tier between him and my number 5 guy. I actually had him in my tier 1.
Yeah, he is.
Where I could see arguing him over the other 4 if you really wanted to twist that or go that way.
I could have argued him in my tier 1.
I could see
I've
that.
got him at 280 carries and 87 targets. I went all in.
Yeah, I went
Yeah.
260, 92.
Okay, so you are just kind of right where I'm at.
I
Yep.
mean, if I get him at 5, I'm absolutely stoked. I'm buying all in on the hype. I think he's one of literally the greatest running back I've ever seen come out of college. So
Yeah,
Pretty much is like since Tomlinson.
yeah,
I know that you and I, or Miguel and I, are pretty big on watching Matt Kelly's podcast.
Since Steve
or listening to
Slayton,
Matt
we just
Kelly's
talked about
podcast.
this.
Yeah,
since Tomlinson.
Since Steve Slayton.
I mean, he's going to be on a pretty good team too. I mean, he's got a veteran quarterback who's won 2 Super Bowls. He's got a decent defense who should get better.
there's nobody behind him that's going to take anything away. Like,
No,
there's
Jonathan
been
Stewart's
reports
not
that
gonna
like
do it.
Stewart might not even win the number 2 job
But
over Wayne Gallman.
Wayne Gallman.
Oh God, get out of here with Wayne.
Moving
Gallman.
on from Wayne Gallman.
So yeah, he's locked in at our 5, and then Alvin Kamara coming in at 6. He's still I shredded his efficiency rating coming into this season, gave him the target workload increase I was expecting, and he still came in as my number 6. Just
He's too good.
he's a monster.
Same for me because he's too good at both things, and he's projected to score as my number 6 on under 200 rush attempts, and
Yeah, I gave him 150.
I gave him 182, 92 targets, but he's just so efficient. And even after I scale back that efficiency, because I don't think that he can maintain
Record-breaking efficiency that he had last year.
right, I don't think he can maintain that. I think that he's still just so dynamic as a runner, as a pass catcher, and his
Yeah.
balance is so good that you don't have to have a ton of volume for him.
He's a dual threat. You know, he can run between tackles. He can catch the ball. He's got Drew Brees as his quarterback, and he's on a high-powered offense with stud wide receivers on the outside now with Traquan Smith, who I hope wins
My
the job.
boo. I'm with you there.
Michael Thomas. So
And Cam Meredith is no slouch
Out of the
either.
slot.
and Cam Meredith.
He'll be out of the
Yeah,
slot.
I forgot they had him.
I have some fun numbers for Kamara's efficiency if you guys want to hear them.
Obviously, we do.
Sure, dish him out.
110 plus carries and over 6.0 yards per attempt. The guys that have done that: 2010 Jamal Charles, 2012 Adrian Peterson, 1997 Barry Sanders, and somehow 2012 CJ Spiller.
He was pretty good that
That
year.
year,
Spiller was
he was
insane.
nuts that year.
Right. Guys with 75 plus receptions, over 10.2 yards per catch. Marshall Faulk did it 3 times. And then Le'Veon Bell in 2014, Charlie Garner in 1999, and David Johnson in 2016. People that have done both.
is Alvin Kamara.
Yeah, only Alvin Kamara.
Yeah, he had the most efficient season
Ever. Yeah.
Ever.
Ever.
I mean, you buy guys on high-powered offenses, so it's easy money for Alvin Kamara.
Yep. He out-targeted Ingram. Ingram out-carried him. But actually, Ingram almost doubled him up on carries, and I don't think that's the case again, especially after the 4-game suspension.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, his carries are going to bump up, and I also think he's going to get even a little bit more passing work just with him being fully involved for the whole year.
Like, I don't want to see how like Sean Payton takes him off the field those first 4 weeks. Like, I get why you want to bring in Mark Ingram; he's a good running back. But why would you want to take Kamara out and put in something named Terrence West?
I mean,
Like,
I-
we like Jonathan Williams ish, but he's been cut multiple times from teams.
You two like
Ish.
Jonathan
No.
Williams.
You were on his train well before we were,
Yeah, and I jumped off as soon as the
and
Bills
I've been
got
off
him.
that train. As soon as they brought in Terrence West, I'm like, yeah, he's probably not even gonna make the team.
I think
But
those first 4 games are going to go ultra pass heavy, and Alvin Kamara is just
that's why
gonna
Drew
get
Brees is my 3.
that many more targets and receptions, and that only helps.
All right, and then last one in this tier is Dalvin Cook, who we did touch on a little bit earlier for the knee issue. But the rest of it, what do we think of him? For me, it's mainly just him being in such a good offense. He should get plenty of red zone opportunities for touchdowns.
I'm a bit of a homer, but he looked so good those first 4 weeks. He led the league in rushing those first 4 weeks. They used him. I think he had 2 games over 20 yards. Or I'm sorry, 2 games over 20 carries.
I was gonna say, I'd hope he have over 20 yards.
18.5 per game before his injuries.
And he got hurt early in the third quarter in the fourth one.
After he scored a
I think I
touchdown.
kicked that game out.
Oh, just the first 3. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, he looked great those first 4 weeks. It's just the laundry list of injuries dating back to college that worries me. And coming off of an ACL tear, I mean, that's not the biggest deal anymore. A lot of guys tend to bounce back pretty quick.
It's like the Tommy John surgery in baseball.
Yeah.
Everyone gets one now.
Yeah, seriously, that used to be just a career ender now. And now
As
I've
Blake
come
laughs
back
over
in
there,
like
it's like,
6
yeah, you're
months.
probably right, bro.
Yep. 4 targets a game prior to his injury also to go along with those 18.5 carries per game. He was slightly above average against all fronts, and DiFilippo gave Duke Johnson 77 targets while splitting rush work. So I definitely think the pass catching work's going to be there in addition to the running work, even if Latavius Murray is taking some of that.
I
So
could just see Cook missing like 3-4 weeks in the middle of the season with some injury.
He might.
And
it's the same deal.
then he's not worth the price you're getting.
It's the
him
same
at.
as Fournette for me. I mean, they've both historically had soft tissue problems.
Yeah,
and
this is why I'm a little lower on them than what you guys have in these tiers, but understood.
That just means more Delvin Cook for me. I'm fine with that.
That's fine.
That's fine.
So how early are you willing to take Cook in your draft? I'm assuming probably 10th then.
yeah,
Yeah, turn, I think, is where I'm
back around the
I have him
turn.
going. Turn.
So assuming you'd take him as the 8th running back with only Hopkins and Brown in front of him.
Yeah,
Maybe OBJ.
that's
I
fair.
haven't looked at it in
So
a little bit.
him and Odell would be kind of where you'd start fighting.
Yeah.
Yep.
Tier 3, we got 2 guys in this tier. It is Kareem Hunt and Melvin Gordon. Actually, Gordon for me is up in the other tier, and Cook is out of it. So for me, I actually agree with Miguel on that.
We'll just
one.
say this though.
Yeah,
I mean, Hopper
yeah.
became really close with
Team
Melvin
Gordon
Gordon
over
after
here.
we saw him in jorts. So I've always been a big fan of Gordon outside of his low efficiency
And
numbers. But
I've bumped his efficiency up. He's my RB8 right behind Kareem Hunt. Him and Kareem Hunt are in the same tier, right below Alvin Kamara and Saquon Barkley. And I've actually got Dalvin Cook and Jerick McKinnon in the tier below. So I'm with Nick. I've got him flip flopped. So Melvin Gordon for me, part of his efficiency problems last year were the offensive line. Forrest Lamp was hurt. Then they get him back. He was their rookie pick last year, who was supposed to help the inside of that line. And then you bring in Mike Pouncey, which should help.
out of the center slot,
It's
very
definitely
good.
Yeah, it's definitely going to help running between the tackles, which is what Gordon does. You project a volume increase because of the way that defense is improved. You got a dynamic offense, and you're in a weak division. And I know it's hard to project a volume increase for Melvin Gordon, who gets a ton of volume, but game script says that's what's going to happen. And the injury to Hunter Henry, it's hard to project a goal line increase from Melvin Gordon, but without Hunter Henry there, I mean, yes, he did confirm today they are trying to bring back Antonio Gates, but he's not going to have his volume cannibalized by anybody.
You also might see more targets because you lose Hunter Henry. Like Gordon, I mean, he may not be the best looking pass catcher, but
You can
he's
do
still
something with
good.
it.
He's still great outside of the backfield.
I think Gordon's just going to eat this year. I mean, I'm with Nick on this. I want to put him up in the second tier.
He's
He just might be because of
take
his
him
jorts.
at 7 and 8. I think he's going to get all
He's
those
my 8, so
receptions.
he's my
just
8
gonna
too.
Fed the ball left and right. They're in a great offense. That defense should be really, really scary.
Do
good.
not sleep on the Chargers.
The Chargers
No.
are going to be a really good team this year,
Chargers defense won.
and Gordon is
Calling
going
it
to
now.
be the main
They're gonna
beneficiary of that in fantasy.
Well, we like to
Yeah.
talk about positive game scripts. When you have one of the best defenses in the league, and
and a stud running
and
back.
it's a running game with a good passing game, to provide balance. A lot of red zone work for
A
him.
lot of positive game script from Alvin Gordon.
Yes.
Jackson and the emergence of Eckler, you kind of have to monitor that a little bit because that could actually take away
I do love Eckler.
some of his receiving work.
We
but-
love Justin Jackson too.
We do love Justin Jackson too, but really, I don't expect a big
Whatever,
fall
Nick.
off for him. I think that the efficiency goes up because it changes the offensive line. I love Melvin Gordon.
All right, and then the last guy in this tier is Kareem Hunt. Concerns about workload, or why is he? So Hopper says you have him higher. I think Dan, you and I were the ones who dragged him down a little bit.
I brought him back up to my RB1 spot. He's my 10 now. There is some concern for me. Like I've always harped on it, and that's the middle weeks. That's the massive loss in efficiency. That's just a massive loss in workload. But you can't deny what he can act like. He led the league in evaded tackles and juke rate, I believe. He from an advanced metric standpoint, he's fantastic. But with that said, why would the fuck would Andy Reid move away from him and for that long and like with no breaks in between? That's what concerns me.
Field Yates or Brad Evans, and I don't remember which that addressed this, but
So shout out both just for good measure.
Okay, that works for me.
Shout out both. We again things that we took away from NFFC, but they were asked this question, and
good. I must have missed that.
I think you did, and they basically said that just kind of happens with Andy Reid. That he had Jamal Charles and he just sometimes forgot to give him carries.
No, this was the footballers.
Oh, it was the footballers.
Yes. Yeah, that was just the footballers.
Sorry. Yes. Shout out fantasy footballers. You weren't there for that.
I mean,
one.
we always shot the ball.
Still shout out Field Yates and Brad Evans, but also shout out fantasy footballers. They did a Q&A session at NFFC, which if you're listening to this, go next year. It's a fun time.
Yes.
And they were asked this, and sometimes he just forgets to give backs carries, and you kind of have to deal with that. You don't know when it's going to happen, but you kind of have to deal with that. The thing with Kareem Hunt is that it wasn't bad efficiency. It wasn't that he was getting stacked up or anything like that. He had 12 games over 4 yards a carry and 6 with 5 or more targets. He destroyed all stacked and light fronts, 6th in breakaway rate. Everything was good. Andy Reid throws to his backs. He just forgets he has them sometimes.
So any concerns about games? We've talked to a couple people up in the positive game script light. Any concerns with him in the negative game script? Because their defense is going to be awful.
Because
He'll
he's
have a
primary receiving back.
Yeah, like he'll have a positive game script when the defense sucks, which it will majority of the weeks.
Because he pass catches. It's the same insulation that you have with David Johnson.
Yeah, Kareem Hunt's someone I've come around on. I think he's absolutely phenomenal for kind of all the advanced metrics that you just brought up. And he's going to be, again, on a high-powered offense that probably should throw more, especially with Pat Mahomes and deeper down the field.
A lot more.
But I think he's just a very safe play to take, and I'm happy to get him, at 8-9, somewhere around then, 7-8-9.
And then any concerns with, or I should say, how much of a touch regression do we expect for him? Because he was at 83% of snaps last year. He had
a 78.3 opportunity rate. That may go down. I mean, I don't hate or dislike Spencer Ware. He was productive early on in 2016, and then his body wore down. So there might be a role for him as the change of pace type of back. But he also, he was 11th in the league in total yards that year. So it's not like he's a slouch of a running back.
Well, and Jake, can I quote you on the Charkandrick West? So Jake had the pleasure of meeting Charkandrick West today.
Oh, did you?
And,
nice.
I heard this actually.
And Charkandrick West told him that Kareem Hunt is the real deal and not to worry about Spencer Ware. So
we've had some knowledge
that
on
with a grain
this
of
too.
salt.
Yes,
and for what you will, but
and him and
if
Spencer,
that's true, then
and him and Spencer Ware
are close.
Too.
Yeah.
So Charkandrick West of the Chiefs coming out and saying that again. Go NFFC. Go to NFFC next year. You get a lot of good stuff.
Yeah, got a lot of good nuggets today out of that.
So, I mean, and he's still my 10. He's still in my tier 3, along with one other guy who we'll get to in tier 4 here. So 10th in my rankings. I've just got him as a early second round pick. I think he's just going slightly too high for
the
my
same.
taste.
Yeah, like for me, it's always been trust, just because of that stretch. That's what worries me.
And also,
but as a running back, he's fantastic.
And I actually didn't project him to lose a whole lot of volume because Charles West was getting work last year.
The only thing that would suck for Hunt is if you get Andy Reid to forget about him for a few weeks, and then he gets hurt for another few weeks, and then
he finds his man crush in Spencer Ware again, like he found it.
Yeah.
Or I mean,
that would just be the worst.
That'll be the absolute worst.
The other thing is if the offense doesn't click with Mahomes right away. If that happens,
I think that might be more of a good thing.
Yeah, because I think they just turn around and hand the ball off.
They just hand the ball off,
even if they're losing,
or they dump it down on easy passes, which still goes to Kareem Hunt.
All right. Well, enough about Hunt here. Let's wrap up with tier 4 here before we go to the beer review. It's just one guy standing all by himself, Devonta Freeman.
I have a one-person tier.
We have a one-person tier. It was a massive gap in front and behind him. So I'm like, you're alone, all by yourself.
All by myself.
Everyone in the room, sing with us.
All by myself.
All right.
Okay.
So, what do we think of Devonta Freeman here? He does lose some touches to Coleman, but he's been generally
He's
pretty
always
efficient.
less touches to Coleman, though.
Usually misses a game or two a year, which is a ding against him. What do we think of him overall?
I hate Steve Sarkisian.
That's pretty much.
We know.
That's like
the
bullet point reason why we've maybe slightly faded on Freeman is because of Sarkisian.
We just need the shirt that says Beerfield Fantasy Football Fantasy Football. Hopper hates Steve Sarkisian.
I think
Hopper and Dan
there's a
Hayes.
couple guys coming up next that I'd take over Devontae Freeman pretty easily.
The interior line's going to be better. They're going to have a healthy Andy Levitri, and Fusco came in. Fantastic against base front was Devontae Freeman, 67 evaded tackles, 28.9% juke rate. Both were good for 11th. He's still very, very dynamic. Tevin Coleman's still going to get some work, so you can't really project a volume increase. And Steve Sarkisian is still a terrible offensive coordinator. So take Devontae Freeman from last year, copy paste.
There you go.
There you go.
Yeah. I still like Devontae Freeman. I think he's still a good player. There's just a couple other guys that he's not. I'd probably take Devontae Freeman like 13. So
What's his
kind of splitting
ADP?
He's
hairs.
my actual rank is right where you take him.
Yeah.
He's my 13 too.
What's his ADP?
I keep talking and I'll find it for you.
Dan,
So for me, it's
this is your shtick.
right. He's lost production every season since his breakout year. I think his yards per carry has gone down since then too.
Steve Sarkisian.
Yeah. Thanks, Steve. Fucking bastard. You bring in Calvin Ridley, which is another weapon there to maybe take away some of those targets.
Steve Sarkisian doesn't use weapons. He's more of a hand-to-hand combat person.
and just with the random injuries at times. Tevin Coleman is extremely efficient when he gets his opportunities, but
Which means
Freeman-
Steve Sarkisian will give him none.
fuck you, Steve Sarkisian. Nick,
Does
they
Steve
found it yet
Sarkisian,
because you can only say fuck you to him so many times.
does Steve Sarkisian make it out of the season, or does he get
No,
fired in
he
season?
gets
he should be
fired
fired
week
before.
6.
You're gonna say week 6?
Yeah, he gets
Okay.
fired. The over/under on him getting fired is week 6. It's not if he gets fired; it's when. And I'm definitely taking the under.
Oh, jeez.
Or
Oh,
but then he
wow.
just loses his play calling abilities and
I mean, if
there's nothing.
so, that means the
anyways.
Falcons
So the
would have to start
Coach
like
is
2
defensive
and
minded.
4.
He will not take it over.
Quinn's defensive. He won't take the play
Well,
calling.
the Falcons would have to start either like 3 and 3, 2 and 4 for them to make that change.
Okay,
Which
well,
they could.
Guess
I
what?
think.
They're starting 2 and 4.
I mean, well, I don't know what the schedule looks
I don't
like
have
right
no
now,
clue.
but
I'm pretty sure that's actually how I wrote it out whenever we were doing our division previews. Is the Falcons were going to be under 500 through the first 4 weeks, and Sarkisian gets canned, and then they start doing better.
All right.
nice.
You heard
What's
it here
the
first,
ADP?
guys.
Trying
What's
to
the ADP,
will it,
Nick?
trying to will
le-
it into existence.
11th in full point
Hey, I'm all
PPR.
about
He's
that.
the 11th running back off the board at 206.
I like it.
That's fine with me.
Yeah, I'm completely okay with that.
I mean, like he still gets his volume, so he's somewhat safe, and he never loses. Like he did, like he's lost work, but that's because of injury.
Go running back at the top of your draft.
Yeah.
Yeah, Devontae Freeman is one of them.
I think
fine.
at worst he's still a top 15 back, so you're not going to lose a ton, even if he doesn't hit at 11. But
We may complain about him, but he still found a way to be productive last year, even with
Yeah.
fuck you, Steve Sarkisian.
Correct. Steve Sarkisian.
I'm just gonna butcher his name because fuck him.
All right.
Neezy Carson. Fucking Steve Neezy Carson.
All right. And if anyone listened to this episode at work with the volume on, shame on you for doing that, but we're sorry for getting you in trouble.
You should know by
You
now.
know
We
better.
swear a lot here.
All right. Time for a beer review.
Beer review.
And this is Haze Wizard New England Style IPA from Three Nations Brewing Company. This is actually Miguel's first time ever having a New England Style. What did you think?
well, for someone who actually hates IPAs, this wasn't actually that bad. Yeah, you were
No,
right.
we
It's
popped his
juicier,
cherry.
It's less
That's
hoppy.
It's a ringing
So
endorsement.
actually, it's drinkable. I like it.
Perfect.
That's a good review.
You guys?
that
A
is
lot
good.
better than mine.
Yeah.
As somebody who's trying to be a beer expert, you should really work on
I mean,
that.
I'm not. No.
I mean, it's a little. So for a New England style, actually, the juiciness is not quite as juicy as like the M43 or some of the other New England styles that I've had.
Yeah, like Son of Juice or something like
Son
that.
of
yes.
right. You get a little bit more kind of piney floral hops on the notes, and then the juiciness kind of kicks in. Again, not as much as like Son of Juice or M43 or some of the others that I've had. It's still very good, very drinkable. I've almost finished the entire can before we got through the rest, and I'm not drinking the last can because, you know, my live studio audience isn't here and wants one.
Same.
So-
This is exactly how I'm judging it. It's actually a lot emptier than I thought it was.
yeah,
and
I thought it would be. Yeah,
So that's got to be good.
yeah, it's very drinkable.
What he said.
We learned today from
If Chris Thompson can do it, I'm going with
Yes,
it.
Chris Thompson endorses Dan reviews, by the way.
Yes, go NFC.
Don't quote that because you won't know who I am. But if you do, he may know who I am.
Yeah, go NFFC. Yeah, I believe Chris Thompson said, you just can't expand on greatness. And my beer
You
reviews
can't
are
expand on
greatness.
perfection. You can't expand on perfection.
That's what it was.
Well, awesome beer, Three Nations Brewing Company, Haze Wizard. We'll go ahead and give that a check out if you're in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Let's move on to Tier 5. Heading up with the very controversial Joe Mixon coming in as the last running back 1 at rank 12. How do we feel about this?
There's some risk associated with Joe Mixon, and I don't just mean dating Joe Mixon.
She wasn't dating him.
No,
she was just some guy that.
She's some random girl.
Some guy.
You get it. You get it.
I know.
She was a man.
She took that punch like one.
Wow.
All right.
That's
dark even for
No.
us.
All right.
We here at Beerfield Fantasy Football do not support domestic violence.
Not at all. Not
do
at
not
all.
Just
support
got off the
domestic
rails.
violence. Welcome to the show. No, I think he's absolutely going to see more than the 12.7 carries a game that he got last year. In 5 of his last 6 games, he was over 4 yards a carry, so his efficiency did get better as the season went on. Hill was consistently at it was weird how consistent Hill's carries were, 222 or 223 per season over like the last 3 years. He was always at 222 or 223. So you can definitely expect those types of touches. Gio was up to 105 or actually regressed to about 105 last year. I don't expect he's going to have a role, but I don't expect it to significantly impact Mixon. So Mixon, as long as his efficiency can continue to improve over what it did at the end of last year as the offensive line came together, I think that this is feasible. There is risk involved. I probably would rather take him as my running back 13 to 15 than my 12 because of the risk involved, but I would be surprised if he finishes the 1 and breaks out.
I would agree. I'd probably rather take him at the back end of this tier. I mean, I'm a really big fan of Joe Mixon as a prospect. Really loved him coming out. However, we really didn't see him do all that much last year. I mean, he wasn't very successful. So we just don't know what we're going to get from him this year. It's all based off hype still so far. That's all we can go off of. I'd actually rather have Jerick McKinnon here.
I would too. No, I would too.
I love Joe Mixon. Like, I've been on the Joe Mixon band. I've been trying to not say plant my flag, so I'm not going to. But I've always been the truther of this just because they've brought in 2 guys, 2 offensive linemen to help with this. Year to Jeremy Hill. So there's none of that like awkwardness in the hallways or anything like that. He's a good pass catcher. He also got hit at like right away, like the most.
He had the lowest yards carried
like
before getting contacted.
Like I don't care who you are. Like if you get hit right away in the backfield, you're done.
That's fair. Yeah, I mean, we can't put it all on him, but
no.
And especially with his running style, where he's more of a patient, like pick your slots type runner, very Le'Veon Bell-esque.
Yeah,
where he needs a little bit of space to work.
He needs a little bit of time to see it open. It's very. I think Matt Forte is the one I thought he ran like
Similar
just
to
because
him.
of
Yeah.
how smooth he is at cutting when he gets to the line. But if there's nothing to cut
even
to,
getting hit first, I think the point is like we haven't seen him.
And
do
that's
it.
right. And
He's still a question mark.
Yeah.
Tim, and the reason that I can at least partially endorse this is that it did improve towards the end of last year as things wore on. And if he continues to improve, then there's a scenario where I could see it happening. But confidence level in that is like
Meh. Yeah, I get it.
I just think at 12 you're betting on a ceiling, and so I'd rather take him a little closer to.
It's like my confidence level during a Tyler Chatwood start for all you Cubs fans out there. The offense may be good enough to get him out of it, but probably not going to end well.
And Blake's just laughing over there. It's just like, I get it.
That was a specific comment for the baseball guy in the room.
I love it as a Cardinals fan, so it's all good.
Yeah, your manager got fired.
Touche.
It only took 6.5 years before they finally did that.
Needed to happen.
We're Twins fans. We can't really say much.
All right. 13th,
You
Christian
don't have a leg to stand
McCaffrey.
on.
Are we going to get another Panther evisceration here, Hopper?
I have not eviscerated Christian McCaffrey this year, despite what the people on YouTube may think.
We just know what he is as a running back.
I
We're
don't
not
even
ashamed to
need to
admit
look
it.
at my notes to do this and tell you guys why I'm not bought into Christian McCaffrey.
Well, in this as 13th overall. How do you feel about that?
Half point PPR, I'm probably 15 to I think I have him at 18, 15 to 18 range for me. In half point, in full point, I
You
like
have
him
him
at
at
13.
16.
Okay, that's fair. 15 to 18 range. That falls in there.
It does.
And in full point, I definitely like him as at 13. But My issues with McCaffrey are 0 goal line carries. They brought in CJ Anderson, even if it is on a 1-year deal, which shows me that they at least want an insurance policy because they're not fully bought into Christian McCaffrey's ability to consistently carry the ball between the tackles or at the goal line. CJ Anderson is also a verse pass catcher. You've got Greg Olsen coming back. You add DJ Moore, so you've got receiving options there now. No running backs ever repeated 110 plus target season. So, I see McCaffrey more in kind of the, I think, 130 carry, 80 target range. I got to look at my projections real quick. Which to me is he's still going to be productive. Yeah, right around, I think I had him at 121 to 93 is where I had him at.
Okay, I had him at 147 and 100.
Yeah. See, I think 100 targets is even steep with those guys coming back because, Olsen's going to command
That's the one
a decent amount. And
like, that's the one that's like the big one is that you bring in Greg Olsen, which has been camp security blanket. Yes, they brought in, a CMC last year to be, a guy so Cam can finally, start throwing the running backs. But Olsen's been that guy for him. You bring in DJ Moore. Funch has proved that he can at least be viable, in this league.
And CJ Anderson can catch passes, so he's going to take some of that also. And then it's just the rushing touchdown upside not being there. 0 goal line carries. You can't really project him to be a 14, 15 touchdown guy. He'll get he'll get 4 or 5 receiving touchdowns, which is good, but most of his value last year came from his ability as a receiver and from the fact that he got high target volume.
He may get 10 total touchdowns.
I mean, yes,
maybe.
They did bring in CJ Anderson, but he also had Jonathan Stewart to compete with last year too.
Well, Jonathan Stewart's a worse pass catcher than CJ Anderson.
He's also like 32 years old.
He was out there running with a walker.
But he's still out there taking snaps.
With a walker.
And tennis balls on him.
I'm still all in on McCaffrey. I mean, he ended as the running back 11 last year in half-point PPR.
Because Jonathan Stewart was out there with a walker.
I think his biggest threat is honestly DJ Moore taking bubble screens and and things like that. Like just those short, quick passes to DJ Moore are his biggest threat.
And Torrey Smith. And Torrey Smith as he's a more deep threat, but still, it's just more targets out there.
I don't even think Torrey Smith sees that many snaps.
He shouldn't.
No, he shouldn't.
I know. I would take him over Curtis Samuel, though.
But I'm still all in on McCaffrey. I think even though he's a liability between the tackles, I think he's still going to see enough passing game volume that we saw with guys like Chris Thompson last year, with Duke Johnson, that you can still be a very, very valuable running back.
And at 93 targets, I'm giving him more volume than Chris Thompson or Duke Johnson.
Exactly.
So,
and Chris Thompson was running back 11 last year before he got hurt. So
so
I think it's pretty safe still.
Yeah. So for those of you that are going to come at this episode on YouTube, and I know you will, because I hate on Christian McCaffrey, I don't hate Christian McCaffrey. It's just there's some red flags there that you need to be wary of. And,
you hate his ADP.
He's a mid to high RB2.
What is his ADP right now?
Just don't draft him as your RB1 and you're fine.
He is going as the 12th player at 207. Or 12th running back, I should say.
At 207?
That's not bad for me.
Into second, early third, I'm fine with him.
So he's about 4 or 5 picks.
He's moved back up to that spot because you said he was too high. At some point, like the back.
He was 206 when I did the 2i episode, so he's moved back 1 spot.
Okay.
I wanted to keep moving back towards the end of that second round, and I'm happier with that because I think you should go after the guys that are going to be able to do both.
All right. Well, if we want to go to a safer prospect, let's talk about Jordan Howard at 14.
What do you mean he's safer? He can't catch passes, and Tariq Cohen's there.
What was his catch percentage?
We've talked about that enough.
75%.
We're leading into this, Nick. Come on.
No, I was giving you kind of a quasi voice of public opinion there because that's the narrative everybody wants to push. I'm going to let somebody else lead this off first and give you all a break for me talking because Christian McCaffrey was just a topic, and then I'll talk more.
You guys go over there.
Miguel, your thoughts on Jordan Howard?
I'm not a big Jordan Howard fan, but he continues to produce, and you can't ignore it. So I love their new head coach, especially their new offensive coordinator. I think you can really see some kind of Oregon-style plays coming into this offense. And if you look back at college football from Oregon, I mean, they tend to support a couple of running backs, I believe. So I can see Tariq Cohen being a huge value, and I can see Jordan Howard continuing to produce the way he has. He says he's working on his pass catching skills. What that actually translates to is probably not a whole lot of anything.
It translated to a 20% increase in catch rate last year, and
I'm still buying into a lot of that being statistical noise.
4 fewer drops.
Yeah, I just don't think that if you have Tariq Cohen or Jordan Howard, you're going to throw it to Tariq Cohen, not to Jordan Howard. Just to your point of if you have Leonard Fournette or ASJ, you're going to run it with Leonard Fournette at the goal line. I mean, it's the same basic argument.
When it comes to disguising plays, though, you don't want people to key into. And I'm not.
But if you have both of them out there at the same time,
which we need to see more.
Which you could.
Needs to happen more. I didn't project Howard for a ton of passing volume. I think I had him at like 35 targets.
I think you're going to see two
That's
running backs on the
perfect.
field a lot for the Bears.
Yeah,
as you should.
32 for me.
Yeah, I had him at 35 targets.
I think that's the way
but
they
I
do
think
it.
that they have to throw to him just enough to where they can't key on Tariq Cohen as the receiving back in 2 back
Oh,
sets
absolutely.
or key on Tariq Cohen every time he's on the field, because that was part of the problem towards the end of last year with John Fox is every time Tariq Cohen was on the field, you knew where the ball was going. So you're going to have to mix it up. And if you're putting them both on the field, you are going to have to throw some to Jordan Howard. And the only reason I wanted to push the narrative that he's that the pass catching improved, and it did, was I mean, it's just essentially that people saw that rookie year and are like, well, there's no way he can do this. Well, he can. And that 20% improvement puts him at pretty much what most running backs are right around. So he's not necessarily a liability there, even though Tariq Cohen's going to get most of the passing work.
Yeah, I think rushing wise, his rushing yards and all that is going to be pretty safe. And so if he just sees a slight bump in
You got a
targets,
better game
He's going to
script.
see a bump in
he
efficiency.
was the running
I
back
think.
12 and a half point last year. So
Yeah.
I think he's still pretty safe, even though I just don't like him that much.
He's going to see a bump in efficiency too, I think, also with
better defense.
actually a receiving game being there.
Yeah.
And for a 5th round pick, I mean, he's already exceeded expectations for what most end
Widely.
up
Oh, definitely.
accomplish. So
I mean, and I don't think anyone's going to feel real happy drafting Jordan Howard, but I think you'll
You know who will be?
You know who's going to be happy?
at
Matt
the end of the
Hicks
year.
will be.
Yeah, happy when he-
Top 2 Matt. Shout out to you guys. Top 2
You know who's going to be really happy drafting Jordan Howard as a running back too? Me.
Okay. Well, I was speaking for general public opinion here, but I think if you take him kind of back into the second range, you'll be happy you did, especially if you doubled up on running backs. If he's your running back too, just take that to the bank.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because he's a lock for over 1,000 yards.
Or even if you go wide receiver and you get him as your RB3 or as your RB1 in the 3rd round, maybe.
Yep.
I don't know where he's going. I'm assuming around that range though.
In
301, 212.
in full PPR, he is currently going off the board at the 302 spot.
You can
15th
see in-
running back.
What are you using for?
We were talking.
FF Calc.
We were talking about this last night at the Eat Sleep Fantasy Draft. Shout out those guys for putting that together here in Fort Worth. Somebody went wide receiver, and I'm like, okay, if you can do that, and then you can put Jordan Howard and Alex Collins with that, that's really good.
Yeah, I'd be ecstatic for that.
All right. Guy who slipped because of the off-field issues that we've talked about in the news segment, LaShawn McCoy coming at 15. By projections, he should be around number 10 for me, but I slipped
was
him
my
because of
10.
risk.
Here's 11 for me on
So-
projections.
What type of risk do we feel we're looking at here? How likely do you think he's to be suspended? And what do we think the suspension might be? And this is just purely just guessing.
The suspension comes down. I don't think it happens this year. I think that due process is going to happen, and I think that you'd be likely to see it next year. I'd be more concerned as a dynasty owner, and that's just because nobody's really sure what happened yet. You got training camp that's about to open up, so unless Goodell levels something in the middle of the season, which the NFL doesn't usually like to do, it's domestic violence. So maybe if there's anything there. But they're going to have to conduct an internal investigation after the legal process kind of takes place. So, I mean, it's going to be lengthy. Field Yates, shout out him, said yesterday you draft him as if he's going to play. And I'm kind of on that boat. You maybe fade him a little bit, maybe by a round or so. But once due process in the NFL takes its time, I think it's going to be till next year.
There's still a good chance. I mean, this happened at the right time for the NFL to be able to evaluate it because there's so much time between now and week 1.
Mhm.
But if anything comes out where LaShawn McCoy gets charged with anything, he could easily be on that exemption list very quickly.
To give them time to evaluate.
This might
give
be
them
like
time. Yeah.
this might be like Zeke, where like you just kept hearing news and news and news. It kept getting pushed back because of all the situations, and then his round, and then his ADP just kept
See,
going.
I don't think
further
Zeke's a
and
good
further
comparison,
back.
though, because that was a suspension that kept getting appealed.
I don't think the lawsuit thing, I don't think it's going to go to court.
The good thing is,
Well, I mean,
this
I'm
is
just saying
all
just-
redraft, so most guys end up most leagues end up drafting in August, so you'll probably know more by then.
I'm just like for me, it was just saying that you might get it to a point where there's just so much.
I'm not fading him
unknown.
heavy until I know more about it. So I'm fading him a little bit, like I said, by about a round right now, because there's risk there. Even if though he plays, you've got a top 12 back, especially in that offense.
If he drops more than that in your league when you're drafting,
Take him.
take the shot.
Yeah,
Just make sure you have some insulation.
So
he
he's,
might be a league winner.
he's going
Yeah,
currently at
definitely.
3.07.
Oh,
16th running back off the board.
I'm
Sure.
fine.
Take
Sure.
him.
Yep.
Take him after you take Jordan Howard, and then
Good luck.
combo it, and you're good to go.
So if you're at the top half of the third, so you started running back, you'd want McCoy as your third running back.
That happened.
Or even
last
like
night, didn't it?
Hopkins.
Yeah.
Or even like
Yes.
Hopkins, Howard, and McCoy.
Yeah. I probably wouldn't.
Well,
I
maybe.
mean,
I'm just guessing.
There's almost no scenario where I go 3 straight running backs, and maybe if somebody falls, I could see myself doing that. But yeah, I get what you're saying. Yes, I would be okay with him as a third running. I'd be okay with him as a second running back, and then taking like I don't know, Mark Ingram, just in case McCoy gets suspended in the middle of the season. You can flip your suspended guys.
Juggle suspension.
Juggle suspensions.
All right, one last guy in this tier, and that is Jerick McKinnon of the San Francisco 49ers. All
Go
right.
ahead, Miguel.
Go ahead, Miguel.
You seem so excited.
Well, I mean, I got to meet him today, which was great. So, I mean, I just love Jerick McKinnon. I think he's just absolutely going to just ball out in the Kyle Shanahan offense. He's set up to just absolutely succeed. I don't think Matt Breida is going to be much of a threat to him. Joe Williams isn't a threat. Maybe McNichols.
Come on,
is,
man.
but-
McNichols love. Team McNichols.
Yep. I want the McDouble to happen.
Yes. We just became best friends.
All right.
It'll be the greatest running back nickname of all time. If we have the
If
McDouble.
McNichols becomes the number 2, we will credit you with the hashtag.
And I will
double.
use
Oh, yeah,
it
it'll
with
be
your
the
credit
McDouble.
all the time.
Da-da-da-da-da.
McDoubles.
Yeah, I mean, he's just gonna get all the receiving work out of the backfield, all the rushing work. We'd have the history of the Shanahans just producing one workhorse after the other and giving you really great fantasy value. I think, let me pull this up really quick, but McKinnon came in he was running back 22 last year, and that was without,
and- And split work.
in split work and wasn't on the field all the time. So to get him where he's going now is just an absolute value, I think.
So his career record for touches is 202. How much do you think he exceeds that this year?
He may push 300
300?
300
touches.
Jeez.
He could.
Wait. No,
I don't see that.
Nope, you're right.
You have him
I
close
was
to 300?
going to say, how many do you
308.
Yeah, like it's like he's efficiency wise, he's not the best. We've seen that. I think it's been 3.8 and 3.5 his last 2 seasons. It's getting better. He's going to be the guy. So during the conference, they spoke about volume and being able to
He
gain
did talk about this, by the way.
Like-
Jarek did.
being able to gain that consistency, and that confidence, being able to see the field. He kept being taken off the field. That's been as you would say, like I guess is one downfall. I guess is there he doesn't have the time to build that.
I mean,
that consistency.
He did.
2015, Devontae Freeman had 265 rushes and 73 receptions, so that's way over 300.
I got him at 246 and 62. But he talked today, McKinnon did, about having only been a third down back, and these are his words, and how hard it is to establish any form of rhythm, because
There you
Matthew
go,
Berry pointed out that, the weeks he did see significant touches, that I think he was like the RB11.
Yeah.
So, again, shout out those guys. Shout out Go NFFC. Go next year. But he touched on that, and then Barry also brought up the touches thing, and if Jarek had any concerns about getting the workload, and no, he's putting in the work and the conditioning and what's needed to get his body ready for that, and
Did you guys see the video that came out?
Yes.
Where he's
Yes.
just absolutely jacked.
He looks. It was insane.
You gotta love those videos. That
It's
just
just like
that
Jesus
just help
Christ, dude.
he knows he's going
raise
to
an ADP for no reason.
yeah,
The greatest player profile picture ever. Or just fucking Kermit the Frog sipping tea.
Yep.
Mhm.
He knows he's going to be good, or he knows he's going to be the guy. And he's
Excited to be the guy.
excited to be the guy. He's putting in the work. He needs to be the guy. And I believe a running back, when they come out and say, you know, hey, I've never been a running back. Go figure. But hey, it's hard to get any form of rhythm unless you're getting consistent carries or when you're consistently coming off the field. So, I mean, you do have some guys like Lamar Miller where the efficiency goes down when they're on the field more. But then there's other guys to where, okay, if you can establish rhythm, Jet's got big playability. He's got big play athleticism. So naturally, I think the overall efficiency numbers have to go up the more he's getting touches.
He should have better run blocking too in San Francisco, which should help. Minnesota had an okay offensive line last year, but it was definitely not a good one.
Yeah, Niners just upgraded theirs. I mean, they drafted McGlinchey. They signed Lakeland Tomlinson, who, although has been a bust as a first-round pick, performed very well once Jimmy G came on board and was one of the highest-rated guards in the NFL in the 5 weeks that Jimmy G played, so they re-signed him. So the interior is locked up. And then you have Joshua Garnett, who's a former first-round pick who's coming back from injury, who there are reports that he might be the surprise cut of training camp. We'll see. He lost a lot of weight. He's trying to get in shape and be lighter so he can fit into that Shanahan offense because he's more of a power guard, not a zone guard. So we'll see how that plays out. But,
Like I was going to say, like, you're a big Niners fan, aren't you, Miguel?
yeah, I am.
Okay, perfect. So we just got that great insight for
I know.
us.
I had a it's a quick side note. I had to really struggle to not ask McKinnon today about McNichols. I really wanted to, and just be like, so how's he doing?
You could ask him, just like, him, like, so what's the atmosphere
he's
like
great?
with you and you know the other running backs like Breida and Williams and
especially
McDoubles. I mean
McNichols.
McNichols. Yeah,
Is he
what's a
good?
slight favorite to McNichols? Has he learned the playbook?
Yeah.
Please tell me. Has he learned the
Does he
playbook
know how to
yet?
read? Can he read the playbook?
Right. Yes.
I will not quit.
Is he still practicing in the hotel room?
They
Where'd he
actually
go?
they actually gave it to him in audiobook form.
On YouTube.
Yeah. Instructions. It's just Kyle Shanahan in front of a whiteboard talking it out to him.
Hooked on playbook.
Whatever works, as long as it gets him on the field.
Hooked
and we
on
can see
playbook.
what
Hooked on playbooks.
McNichols can do.
God damn it, McNichols.
All right,
Everyone learns
Nice.
differently, guys.
So, and then
That's true.
I think the general consensus though is this tier is kind of pick your order, but there's definitely a drop off after these guys go into the next tier for everyone, right?
Yes.
I haven't seen that.
All right. Well, next tier is tier 6. It's Alex Collins, Darius Geis, and Lamar Miller at 17, 18, and 19. Definitely
Yes,
some various
drop-off.
types of swings you're taking. Which one of these guys you're drafting? Let's start off with Alex Collins though, coming in at 17. Great efficiency numbers, not much of a pass catcher. Should be behind a pretty good Baltimore offensive line this year, and I think he's kind of become a target player for me, especially if I start wide receiver heavy.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was 4.6 yards per carry last year. Behind a pretty bad offensive line. Ravens get Yana back. Daly's been okay. They've revamped the passing game, which is going to help for the balance of that team. We always speak about positive game scripts. The Ravens had one of the best defenses in the league last year, especially pass defense. A lot of big plays, a lot of opportunities, a decent special teams. I'm not as concerned with Buck Allen. He's just a guy. Dixon is a concern if he makes a team and if he can stay healthy and not suspended.
Yeah.
I think Dixon's less of a concern as a runner to me than he is as a receiver, but Alex Collins is not a great receiver. So I think that you kind of see that same type of first, second, third down back split here, but he wasn't, like Nick said, he's incredibly efficient. Very, very good efficiency numbers, great breakaway rate, juke and evasion. This could end up being kind of a McKinnon-Murray split with him and Dixon, 18, 20 touches a game down the stretch. So I don't think that Buck Allen is going to have a significant role.
He is the RB2 right now on the depth chart, is Buck Allen.
I don't see much difference between Alex Collins and Jordan Howard as a runner,
I don't
as
either.
a player.
Yeah.
I think Howard's a little bit better of a receiver.
I actually think Collins might actually be a better receiver than we're giving credit for. I mean, let's be honest, this is really
Like Jordan Howard?
the 12 games that we've really seen of him. But
Huh.
in
'Cause
Seattle,
It's like his numbers are exactly what Jordan Howard's were his rookie
We're
year.
at
Everybody
it.
just wants to call him
hold
terrible.
on, in Seattle, he had 11 targets and 11 receptions. So
Yeah, 63% catch rate last year.
yeah, last year wasn't great, but it's also Joe Flacco and it was a really bad Ravens team. I mean,
No, I know.
I would have to go back and look back at all those.
Jordan Howard
targets
doesn't
to
get a
see-
pass because it was Jay Cutler and a really bad Bears team.
That's fair.
I mean,
He doesn't want to quit
Point
this.
counterpoint.
I'm not gonna quit.
He just doesn't want
I
to
mean-
quit this.
I haven't looked quite as closely as Alex Collins, but Jordan Howard, you can just tell he is not comfortable catching the ball. I think that's the bigger issue people tend to have with him.
Yeah, when you actually watch him play, you can see him just almost afraid to catch.
he often secures it, but it's not a natural.
So it sounded
thing
like
for him
that?
to do.
I haven't watched.
It's
Alex
like watching
Collins
Adrian
catch.
Peterson trying to catch the ball.
Please don't. No, I don't.
Like, this
I don't
want
wanna
to
torture myself.
Like Deontay Foreman, people thought he couldn't catch, but then when I actually watched the tape of him in college and on his 10 targets that he
He
had,
looked comfortable.
He looked
in
very
college
comfortable
in
catching
Texas.
it.
You
Yeah.
mean like
And
Leonard
then-
Fournette?
What was that?
Like
You mean
Darius Geis?
Leonard Fournette and Darius Geis?
Oh yeah,
This is something we've
Yeah.
talked
Yeah.
about before. Is when we evaluate running backs coming out of college as well. Is know the tendencies of the team, because you'll see some teams where they literally just do not pass to running backs.
Ew.
Yes. I look at how they catch the ball, not how often they get it, because
Yes.
they can't control that. in
with
college.
their hands normally,
yeah.
Hopefully,
Well, it's just like
Sometimes.
are they going like are they like Vernon Davising it? Like
unless they're chest catching, then it's terrible.
yeah.
For Tariq Cohen, you're catching it while you're doing a
But if
backflip.
they're out there, they got their
With
hands
two balls.
out, extended, and in the right position.
Are they actually running routes out there, which is something I really like to look
Anyway,
into?
to the point, Alex Collins, very good runner, questionable pass catcher, may be able to do more of that. Very efficient runner.
yeah.
Draft him in the fourth
and he's a
round.
good enough runner that even if Dixon performs well, he should still have a solid part
I mean,
of the.
And
plot.
then-
he was just shy of 1,000 yards in 12 games.
Yep,
so-
draft him in the
Like,
fourth-
if this team wants to
in
keep
the third round.
Like if they always want to keep winning games, you don't want Joe Flacco to be doing 600, attempts. If you bring in Lamar Jackson as a rookie, you still want to, protect him from seeing all those type of attempts. Draft Alex Collins in the fourth round.
so
ADP.
yeah, 403. So you don't have to do them in the third.
Yep, get him in the fourth.
Yeah, I've been buying him every.
Unless you're at the back end of
Well, you might have to reach at like
Middle of
310,
the third.
312.
You can reach on
Yeah.
Collins. We won't hate you for it.
reach on Collins in the third if you really
All
need a
right.
running
Going in
back.
a very similar spot, just ahead of him at the 401 is Darius Geis.
Man crush.
The rookie hype is starting to get out of control. Is it valid?
The
Yes.
Chris Thompson hype on Darius guys
Isn't gonna help.
Might be a little
He
bit out of
loves-
control.
he
By the
loves
time
Darius
this
Geis.
episode airs tomorrow, he's probably going to jump up 2 spots in draft.
Yeah,
Just-
Chris Thompson, unprompted today at NFFC, told the crowd that he has learned basically the entire playbook already and looks to be an absolute beast.
Loves football, has fun doing it, and tries to run
I mean,
through people.
And
Chris
he's raised-
Thompson though had a hard time just containing his excitement for Darius Geis.
You should be excited for Darius guys.
Follow Dynasty Guru FF on Twitter, but he was literally just leading his own tweet out there.
Hey,
Yeah, basically.
that's fine, and we all accept that.
I mean,
I liked
these are
every one of
basically
those
my
tweets.
notes from NFFC.
Yeah, I liked every one of those tweets too.
Anyway.
Everyone, and I was there
Thank
for
you.
it. I know.
He's
I got
gonna
you, boo.
he's gonna have volume. I wouldn't worry too much about that guy that I liked a lot last year, whose name is slipping my mind right now.
We don't need to say his name. It's like Voldemort. Just don't say it.
And
He shall not be
It
named.
shall not be named.
Beetlejuice 3 times, and he won't. Anyway,
Anyways,
Rob Kelly's dead.
yes.
R.I.P. But not really.
Rip.
He had,
Yeah.
he had a nice little streak there.
1 game, 2 games.
Darius Geis could very, very easily jump into the high RB2, RB1
Absolutely.
deal here. He's a more natural pass catcher than he showed in college because LSU doesn't throw to running backs. He's a fantastic runner. They're excited about him. He's going to get volume.
Speaking of videos, every single hype video you've seen from him in just training camp, not training camp, just with like OTAs,
Mini camps.
mini camp, he jumps out every single one. It's so much fun.
He is going to be beastly. And if you reach on him above this, I will not be upset with you.
Yeah, go get your guy if you love him. And I wouldn't blame you at all. He's definitely a guy who I'll be trying to hold the hype train back a little bit, but I may not be able to succeed in that.
I've
I
already
absolutely love
fucked that.
guys.
Yeah, I'm good.
I've got the one dot. I know we're talking redraft, but I've got the 1.2 in a dynasty league, and
I had him in our league that I
Buttons
run
pushed.
between the 3 of us with me, Hopper, and Nick, and I had 102, and it's like Nick's like, you passing, guys?
I mean, I was
I
knew
You knew I was like, Dan's going, guys. Obviously,
I was
it's me, Bradley,
99% on Geis, and after today, Chris Thompson was the final 1% to make.
And he's also like great for like. Speaking of the one knock that people had with the draft, with its character, with its character concerns, he's raised like 22 grand playing Fortnite already. Like the guy, yes, he loves video games, but he loves his
Which-
community.
Which Chris
Pro-
Thompson
Moving over there with
confirmed.
Blake,
Probably
get Darius Geis on Blake.
Yeah, he's probably your 102 for an ad for that.
Yeah, pretty much.
Just behind Juju as the 102.
Juju and Geis.
For redraft. Dynasty's yet to be.
Juju.
For redraft Fortnite.
Redraft Fortnite.
Juju and Geis.
Yep, 101, 102.
Yeah,
easy.
Thompson did confirm that he likes his video games, but he's also really passionate about football. And that, he's an aggressive human.
Yes.
Yeah, he runs angry.
Yeah.
Read his story if you haven't yet already. It's pretty insane.
Yeah, it is an insane story, but you want him to succeed. A lot of those LSU players have some insane
Yeah, I
stories.
think the Redskins got an absolute steal in that draft for guys falling for nothing.
Yeah.
Stupid.
Yeah, there was a few players taken ahead of him that just head scratched.
Donald Jones.
Yo, thank you.
Rashad, looking at you, Rashad Penny. Looking at you.
and Penny,
And
Michelle,
Kerryon
and Karen Johnson. Everybody
Literally
besides
every
Barkley.
running back. Yeah.
I could argue Chubb. He's the only other one I would consider fighting with Geis on.
Sure. Yeah.
All right, last one in this tier, Lamar Miller.
Hopper.
It's not ugly, or sorry, it's not pretty, but
Hopper.
he gets the job done.
No, it's not pretty, but he gets the job done. The analogy we like to use for this type of player is the closing time at the bar, and you're looking there, and you're just like, yeah, you'll do. I mean, not me anymore. I'm
You're
engaged.
2:30
but
a.m. cute.
assuming you're not. If you're sitting there in the middle of the fourth round, and you're like, I really need a running back. Lamar Miller's the one you look at, and you're like, you'll do.
You're passable.
And the reason is because he's locked for over 200 carries. Deontay Foreman's coming off an Achilles injury. The average recovery time for that is 360 days. He hurt it November. So Deontay Foreman, for me, is a very good candidate to start the season on the pup and spend the first 6 weeks there.
Absolutely.
And then have to earn his way back on the field, because even after you come back from that injury, you're not necessarily 100% right away.
True.
So before you see Deonta Foreman, I mean, it could be next season before we see Deonta Foreman back to even a shell of what he was. So Lamar Miller is what they have. It's what they have to work with there.
And he was good with
Alfred
with
Blue
Watson,
ain't
too.
nothing.
Yep.
You don't speak Alfred Blue here. Like,
No, Lamar Miller, I mean, my analogy for him would have been like, your first car is like a really old Toyota Corolla, and it gets you from point A to point B, and you live with it. It's
if
fine,
someone's
'cause
out
that's
last year
what
for
you got.
200,000 miles, too. Like I don't understand how it happened, but it did.
It's
It's
cheap.
there.
It works. It gets you everywhere you need to go.
Every
fine.
time you go to start it up,
It
you have a
turns
mini
on.
heart attack.
You're
It's-
praying to the car Jesus. You're like,
Yeah.
okay.
and everyone
Come on, baby.
And everyone looks at you starting it like, "What are you doing?"
But
You
at the
should
end of
push
the
that
day,
into
it
a.
works.
You should push that into a dump and get rid of it.
But
But it gets you there.
it's paid off. So you don't want to.
But yeah,
And it's cheap to fix.
and you can grab him in the middle of the fifth round. So if you have a late fourth, you're desperate for
That's
a running back,
insane.
take him.
Yeah, and he's gonna have pass work too.
Yeah, Rashad Penny's going a round earlier than he is.
Don't take Rashad Penny around earlier than Lamar Miller.
That is a bad move if you're doing that.
Just make sure you change the oil, wiper blades every now and again, routine maintenance,
And just
just write it into the
it'll
ground.
keep doing the trick.
all right, and let's get tier 7 here, starting off with number 20, Kenyon Drake,
Jesus, there's more.
which that's you two. Yeah, we got 4 more left.
I met Kenyon Drake, by the way, really cool guy.
Samesies.
Shout out, go NFFC.
By the way, you need to tag them in this episode and be like, "Yeah, we talked about you a lot."
We-
In a positive matter.
Yeah, I'm not saying we did.
Oh,
I'm
let
just
the
saying.
players. Okay, I get you.
I'm just saying we need the retweets from them because we've plugged them enough.
Oh, we have plugged them a
From
ton.
this amazing podcast.
So anyway, Kenyon Drake, the lead back in Miami saw 19.7 carries per game in that offense to start the season. And then you look at Adam Gase. So you've seen split backfield before. This is to address kind of the Frank Gore thing. 2014, Noshawn Moreno, 241 attempts. Monty Ball, 120 attempts. And then Moreno, Forte as lead backs in Adam Gase's offense, 4.5 targets a game. I don't know that Gore cuts into that a whole lot. They added some pass blocking some run blocking this season with AJ Derby, Durham Smythe in the draft, and then they brought in Josh Sitton, who was very good for the Bears. Drake was 7th in juke rate, 21st in evaded tackles. Half a season as a starter, he had 3.2 per game, 21st in yards created, 4th in created per carry. He just ripped up base and light front. Tannehill is going to be much more accurate and an improvement over a half-invested Jay Cutler that was really only playing because his wife told him he had to. So,
Yeah, we need another $10 million. Go get out there.
go.
does Frank Gore get 120 to 150 carries? Sure. Does that kill Kenyon Drake for me? Absolutely not. Given the efficiency, given the fact that Tannehill is going to be an improvement over Jay Cutler. Even though the receiving options aren't necessarily nice, he'll work over the middle. He'll dump it down.
How many touches do you have for him?
For Kenyon Drake?
Yep.
I have him at. Let me switch to the spreadsheet before you ask me this question.
28.
220, 270 ish.
Okay, I'm much more cautious on the touches. I got him closer to about 215.
I got him at 228 rushes and 49 receptions. So the reception number may be a little steep, but I projected it out based on the Forte and Moreno stats.
Okay.
Because that's what Gase does with his lead backs. So I just went back and kind of looked at, how do lead backs perform in Adam Gase offenses, and that's where you end up with that. Because he didn't have Forte in his prime.
I was going to say I get it.
You can't
Dan?
expand.
That's fair.
You can't expand on perfection.
I totally understand.
Shout out Chris Thompson and
Every
Go
time.
NFC.
Okay,
Yeah.
we
NFFC.
shot enough people. This episode's going long. Miguel,
Yeah,
any thoughts
I
on
mean,
Drake?
I totally understand how you got to your projections and respect that. I could just also see this somehow blowing into a total running back by committee with Frank Gore and Kalen Balaj there
Shut
too.
Team
your
Balaj.
mouth about Balaj.
We're Team Balaj.
I mean, I don't think Balaj is great between the tackles runner, but
I don't think Balaj is great as a NFL player.
I think I could see him catching so many passes that it would just depress Drake too much, and then Frank Gore taking
He's
what
a
Frank Gore
huge
takes.
satellite
'Cause
back.
even though Frank Gore's old, I mean, he's a Hall of Fame running back, and I just think he's still
Who
going to
uses
go out.
satellite anymore?
He's still going to
It's
go
all
out with a
about
bang.
streaming.
I don't think he's ever going to actually fall off.
I appreciate that.
So I'd rather take some of the other running backs here in this tier before Drake.
I'm glad somebody appreciates that.
I probably wouldn't.
But
draft
there is
Drake.
some concerns with Drake. I mean, just with like I mentioned before,
I would
with what?
draft Drake.
I know. Well, I've drafted Drake plenty of times. But either way, I mean, it's just, just a trash value. Like, looking at Ajayi, blew up, sucked, moved on. If Drake struggles this year, that may happen. Drake was far more consistent as a running back on a per-game basis than Ajayi was. Wasn't just a couple, 200-yard games that kind of that kind of insulated his value, for that. So there is some concern for that, but I'm on Team Drake with Hopper here, so.
All right. I am not nearly as confident in Drake as you guys in Drake. I've said why, though. I think the touches are going to be about 50 lower than Hopper's projecting, but I think that's enough on him. Let's move on to Dion Lewis.
Oh, Dion Lewis.
I have my heart.
And just try to keep it short.
Okay.
He's
Give me all the
5'9", so
Dion
he-
Lewis. I
he's
like it in
5'9",
Titans
so
offense.
it's-
Basically, he's going to get the majority of the passing work along with some rushing work. I think that Henry's a lock for about 200 to 210 carries. I've got Dion Lewis at about 160, but I also have him at lost my place 60 receptions. So as long as he's healthy, and that's the real question mark with Dion Lewis. It's as long as he's healthy. If he's healthy, I would rather own him than Derrick Henry, especially in any type of PPR league.
They changed this entire offense.
I completely agree with you.
And they brought in, they brought in everybody, and they handpicked, Dion Lewis. You've seen him as a runner, with the Patriots when he's been healthy and not suspended. He can be a fantastic every down back. He may not have the size, but he can do it. Yes, Derrick Henry will get his touches, but no more than 14 catches in a season. I don't have a lot of faith in him.
All right. So at this moment, there's still almost a 2-round difference between them, but it is under 2 rounds. So we are starting to close the gap between Lewis and Henry. It's starting to get finally
Close the
a
gap.
little bit saner. Let's keep working on closing that gap, guys. Lewis should be going
Close that
even
gap.
with Henry, if not higher.
Lewis should go way before Henry.
Yep.
Where's it hard?
Mark Ingram. So I'm assuming he'd probably be around running back 12 or 13 for you if it wasn't for the suspension.
Yeah, and
Yeah, I think he was for me.
Yeah, I've got suspension concerns, especially with just his relationship with the New Orleans Saints and how dicey it is. And now he's suspended, and who knows how the brass is going to react to that once he gets back and how they'll use him. But if they do use him just like they did last year, and let's pretend they kind of ignore the 4-game suspension and they want to ride him, fantastic value.
Yeah, I don't know that they will ride him. I definitely see what you're saying, though. If they do use him that way, then it is fantastic value.
Yeah.
It may be worth what's his ADP, Nick?
502.
No, thank you.
No.
You give him to me in the 6th or the 7th, I'm going to say it's probably worth a flyer.
Well,
so if
That is
trend-
the 24th running back off the board, though.
I don't want him as my RB2.
You wouldn't have already taken
That'd
2
be like a
running backs?
flex range.
I would hope I would have, but I mean, it's
So assuming it depends on your draft start. So if say
Yes.
you're in the 101 or 102 and you
Yeah.
take 2 running backs and you're looking at Ingram there as your possible 3rd running back.
Margie said, like, if you go McCoy Ingram.
it does start to get ugly when you get down into rounds
All the
5,
risk.
6, and 7. So I could definitely see you taking a dart throw on Ingram there, but and that's the same range that Dion Lewis is, and I would rather have Lewis
Okay.
than a suspended Ingram. You get outside of that Dion Lewis, Royce Freeman, who are usually the last 2 guys that go. that I'm like, okay, I'm really sold on this. That's the part where I want Mark Ingram, where like Marshawn Lynch and some of those guys are going.
So you're probably more in the mid to late fifth then. Probably.
Yes.
Okay. Well, good transition, because let's talk about Royce Freeman. He's our last running back on this episode. We're at number 23, last of the tier 7.
He's the running back 1 in Denver. I'll let somebody else dive into him real quick, but he is.
The Denver offense is going to be driving a luxury car all season long, and it's a Rolls Royce, and it's going to be amazing.
It will be fantastically amazing, because I don't believe in Booker. We like Henderson, but we like Royce, I think, a little bit more than Henderson.
No, quite a bit more than Henderson.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And this is going to be like what we saw with, I guess, what we maybe would have saw with the Ware and Hunt situation last year, where it may happen prior or not. It's going to happen. Booker may try to push it. They may try to keep him in early on, but it'll be just a matter of time until Royce takes that over, and he'll help you win your season, because you'll get him in a good spot.
Yep.
Yeah.
CJ Anderson was really efficient last year. They targeted running backs 98 times. So he's I go back and listen to the running back episode. I've shouted it out before how good he is in both facets of the game. His college numbers were only comparable to Donnell Pumphrey, and he's way bigger. So he can do both things, and Denver desperately needs that. Booker did nothing with his chances.
Yeah, I have zero faith in Booker. He'll be around for maybe a 25-30% share of the work. I've got Henderson pegged in at 15 or 20%. The entire rest of it, so 55-ish%, is all going to go to Freeman. And I projected that out, and he just blew up my
Royce could
rankings.
be Royce can be like
They've upgraded the quarterback. They still have a decent defense. It should be good, positive gamesmanship from
Yeah, great
at least
receiving core.
neutral.
and
for
it
the
should
most part.
and it should prevent stack boxes for him.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I'm all in on Royce.
He'll be
Freeman.
like 85% opportunity share. Like, I think he'll be where Kareem Hunt was, in the high 70s, low 80s in opportunity share, just because he's far better than the competition.
Like
that's
this
there
time
for
next
him.
year, Royce Freeman's going to be
He'll be your
much
he'll be
higher
your
than
next
what-
Kareem
what-
Hunt.
he'll be a mid to low second round pick at the
Yeah.
late worst.
Yes.
Probably.
yeah. I think so.
So make sure you get him, especially if you're in a keeper league.
So he would have been higher, but Dan dragged him down a little bit.
I probably fucked that up. But
Yeah.
whatever.
You got him
I
at
still love
29.
him. Yeah, I probably fucked that up.
That underappreciated keeper league comment I just made, by the way, if your keeper league is based on original draft position, I think Freeman's going somewhere back into 5, early
Nope,
6.
Early 5. He's creeping up.
He's creeping up.
He's
Still,
creeping.
he's a guy that you would have to take into the first, into the mid-second going into next year, most likely. That's value. In Dynasty, absolutely.
Yep, definitely love him in Dynasty. I know this is our take. It's a bit of a controversial one, but we like him over both Penny and Michelle.
Yep.
All right. Well, thank you so much for tuning in, guys. Miguel, thank you for jumping on the show with us for a second time here.
Thank you for having me.
This is at Dynasty Guru FF. If you want to follow him and check out his PSI content, he actually got to pitch that a little bit to
Field Yates.
Field Yates
Yeah, it
this
was
weekend, so
exciting.
that was fun.
It's all because Dan was like selling me
Oh
all over the
my
place.
God, I
I
was
found
like-
my new pitch man.
I'm like PSI.
oh my God.
PSI. Traquan Smith.
Yeah.
Like, everything.
All right. And then remember to send at Hop BFF your DMs for anything related to the Listener League.
With 2Ps.
Follow us on Untapped, Instagram, and Twitter at Beerfield FF, Beerfield Fantasy Football for YouTube and Facebook. Remember to get those YouTube subscriptions in if you want to go ahead.
Holy shit.
It's a long episode, I know. If you want to go ahead and get those entries into the Listener League, we are Beerfield Fantasy Football. Dan Thury,
At 3 BFF.
Christopher Hopper,
At Hot BFF with 2Ps.
and I am at Nick Sparts. We'll catch you guys
Next
next
time.
time at Beerfield Fantasy Football when we're back in Springfield.
Peace.
Holy crap, we went long. Thanks, guys.
That's what she said.
I told you when he sat there, I was like, your leg's gonna fall asleep like 3 times. Why do you guys think I kept getting up and helping sleep on things? Let's go with that.
Well, there was an outro there.